37 degrees, which is quite warm. This month, and especially January, is very, very cold. So 37 feels like summer over here.
Right, yeah, that's for sure. Now you haven't had a lot of snow, though, have you?
Yeah, this year we actually had about the third snowiest December, and another quite a snowy January, so we're up to about 56 inches. Heading for about 80 or 90, it seems. Top 10, maybe.
All right, well, now, Cory, I'm going to put some pictures up on the screen here. First of all, again, the first image I'm going to show people here, let me go ahead and get that up. This is a picture of, oops, I got to get the internet cam going. Here we go. This is a picture of you and Dean Martin's daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, it's from an Italian festival in Milwaukee, Wisconsin last year. So we both playing at the same festival, so we did a little jam together on stage that went over very well.
Cory, how old are you?
I am 22.
22 years old. Now, you started playing when you were how old?
9.
9 years old. Now, I have a picture here of my mother. Now, here's my mother. Let me zoom this in. This is her playing the accordion when she was like your age, maybe even a little younger, and that was a really old instrument there. Do you know much? Has this instrument been around for like a long time? How long has this instrument been around?
Well, officially on May 6th, it's the 180th anniversary of the accordion. Although, I don't know, it seems like it has not been around that long, but that's the official birthday, apparently.
Okay, hold on just 1 second, Cory. Okay, Cory, we're back with you. I just wanted to double-check that sound level to make sure we have you loud and clear on the broadcast. Here's another picture I have up on the screen. This is my mom playing when she was an adult, and I lived in Fort Lauderdale. She used to play for parties and things like that. She would have loved to have met you and hear you play because you really are something. And again, after when we end the interview here, we'll hear some of your music, some more of it. But that intro coming into the presentation of Cory was him playing the accordion coming into this. Now, you've also played for some celebrities. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I think my biggest celebrity is Bill Clinton. I played for him and Hillary on 10 different occasions, and I've been at the White House quite a few times. So he's very nice to musicians, I have to say. Good guy.
How old are you in this picture here? You're standing with Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Oh, God, it's about 12, 13 years old. Depends on which visit it was, but anywhere from 97, 98, 99, 2000. So, young teens.
Wow, that's quite. Now, you do this professionally, correct?
Yeah, that's what I do for a living.
Wow. So you keep pretty busy with the economy the way it is? A lot of people call you up to perform?
Yeah, I haven't, me and a lot of musicians around, I haven't had any problems as of yet with, canceling gigs because they don't have the money anymore. It seems like people, I don't know, maybe they're saddened by the economy. They want to hear some live music. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I guess people are looking to music these days to cheer them up. Now, all right, you're busy. You're growing up with all the fame and fame. I don't know about fortune, but you got all the fame. You're busy writing. I guess you write music or perform the music. And how do hurricanes all of a sudden come into your life? How does that happen?
Well, it really started with snow. I'd say I just was always obsessed with snow. I'm called the snowman, as some people know, especially in the weather world. And I started compiling statistics in 2002, 2003, and I just started getting to know the winter world. Well, and then I wrote a report on how I feel like snowfall has been increasing, and snowstorms are getting more intense, at least in southern New England area. And then from there, right around Hurricane Katrina in 2005, I was just like, wow, this season's been pretty interesting. I think I'm going to start getting into the tropics. And that was my sophomore year in college, and I just started compiling all these different records because I love statistics. That's where it comes from. And before I knew it, I was full-fledged on it 3-4 hours every single day, just compiling statistics. I'd be in class for music. I went to school in the New England Conservatory of Music, and I'm in there thinking, oh, wait, what about that record? What about that? and then Hurricane Wilma happened, and just, it was amazing. So I just got crazy involved in it, and that's how I got that 2005 list going.
Now, for those of you that may not be aware of that, on the right navigation bar at Hurricane City, let me show it to you real quick here, and pull up the website one more time. As we scroll down on the right-hand side, down under Hurricane Information, you click the 2005 record season. Of course, I have the link right above the tracking chart right now, too. But that's the 2005 record season. Cory, how many records were set that year?
I've actually never counted. I know it's about 20 pages of records with a 12 font, so that probably says enough. It's got to be 300-400 or so. And I didn't even do all of them because, sometimes you're like, I guess that's a record, but I just tried to do main ones, and it still came out to about that much.
And now you did this in 2006 as well. No, you skipped 2006 from what I understand, or?
Well, I was compiling 05 into 06, and I kind of completed it around May or so. But 2006, there wasn't really much that happened, so I just kind of used that year to finish up 2005 and really get as accurate as possible. And then 2007 had quite a few. So I did a records list there, especially with Lorenzo and Umberto, Felix, and Dean. And then this year happened, which has been quite impressive.
Okay, now, I don't know, I guess you had problems getting the live broadcast. If anybody happens to have a solution for Cory's situation tonight, he could not view the live feed. We have the studio cam going right now. We have Hanna Marshall here from the message board sitting next to me in the studio. And we're taking phone calls and emails. If you have a question for Cory regarding the records of hurricanes over the past several years, he knows has just about every record that's been set. Email jim@hurricanecity.com, or you can phone. I'll put the phone number up in just a minute. 561-278-8495 is the number to get through on the 800 line, which we don't have the 800 number activated right now, but that'll put you through on the same line if you'd like to talk to Cory. If you have any questions or comments about the show tonight. And again, here's Cory. That's from the front page of your website. I have a picture of you with the lightning behind you, change in the weather. And your music is based on weather theme, naturally because of your hobby. And again, as you said earlier, you do a lot of this in your spare time. What are your major sources? Where do you get all the information for your statistics? And where do you start? I mean, you have so many records. Where do you start?
I don't even know. I just kind of start thinking of things, and then I think off of that, and you say, okay, strongest hurricane in July. Well, okay, is it the strongest hurricane before August? Is it the strongest hurricane before August in the Caribbean Sea? And you got to go through every single year and check. You try to check a couple at a time as you're going through, starting in 1880. And I'll go through National Hurricane Center's data. Even sometimes you go through Wikipedia because I have some good maps that Hurricane Center's provided. And I just try to check different sources on it, but it's a long process. The fun part is thinking of all the records and just kind of jotting them down as fast as possible and then going through them. So at first it just looks like a million words on a Word document, and that slowly just gets organized and over time becomes a organized list.
Okay, again, you are listening to the Weather and the Media Show. It is 8:35. We have Cory Pesaturo on the line from Rhode Island. He is a hurricane record keeper. Why, again, I know you kind of answered this before, but if you live up in the Northeast, you haven't had any hurricanes up there in a long time to directly hit Rhode Island up there. Why this and not snowstorm records and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that are quite amazing about it. And I think especially just that so many records have been set in the past couple of years that anything to do with, all-time records just interests me. So, and so many have been happening that the topics they're very interesting. I would hate to live down there. I can say that. Worry about my new house I just bought that's about to get destroyed by, Hurricane Wilma or whatever. But I guess
little exciting.
From my safe pad up here in Rhode Island to track stuff down there that you guys have to worry about.
All right. Now, Cory, what record stands out the most from last hurricane season? We had a slow season in 2006, relatively. Right. And then 2007, we had the 2 Cat 5s down in the Caribbean Sea that I just showed people on the tracking map. Last year, I know Ike was a huge story, but what particular record would you say that to tell the public that we might not be aware of? Is there some record that's kind of not really talked about much that will raise somebody's eyebrows from last hurricane season?
Well, I mean, certainly one of the most impressive things is Hurricane Gustav's 212-mile-an-hour wind gust that was reported in Cuba, which, from what it says so far, is the highest wind speed ever measured in a hurricane, ever measured in a non-mountain location, even the surface of the planet, just excluding tornadoes is the one note there. That's a big one. Hurricane Ike, of course, its initial intensification was a very big thing. From what I have made a very, very big list on all the biggest intensifications over 3-hour, 6-hour, 12-hour, 18-hour, 24-hour periods. And Ike is third with a 24 millibar drop in 3 hours, 36 millibar drop in 6 hours, fourth place for a 12-hour drop. I mean, it was like almost like Wilma in a lot of ways. So that intensification, I think people kind of missed because it wasn't a danger to anybody at that point, but it was an unbelievable intensification. And it went from a Cat 1 to a Cat 4 in about 6 hours, which no storms have even gotten close to that.
Right. Now, this is when it was out near the Great Inagua out there in the East Bahamas.
Right.
All right. Now, when I talked to you briefly on the phone the other day, you talked about the National Hurricane Center, how they're a little bit reluctant to classify this as the largest hurricane ever in the Atlantic Basin. I'm not talking about the most powerful, but the largest. Right. What's your take on that?
Well, like you said, it does seem like the way they're writing things, they kind of want to steer clear of the politically correct deal with global warming. And, everybody that I know was waiting for the tropical cyclone report on Ike and say, okay, now how big was it? Did it have the biggest tropical storm wind field of all time, or the biggest hurricane wind field, or both? And they didn't mention anything. And so, okay. No, and this happens on all kinds of different occasions, but I have to keep going out and finding all the information otherwise. But the actually other really bizarre thing on Ike is, at least from everything I've read, it had the highest IKE of any storm that's been measured under that system. And if that is true, that's got to be the most bizarre record in weather history, that a storm named Ike, IKE, had the highest IKE.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
That's got to be one of the bazillion.
Now, that's explain to the audience what IKE is.
The integrated kinetic energy.
Okay, which is
a measure of storm surge and destructive potential. But I can learn more about that actually myself, because that was something I hadn't seen until recently when they're talking about IKE, which is measured on a scale from 1 to 6. And Ike actually had a 5.6 at one point, and Hurricane Katrina and Wilma had a 5.1. So it just goes to show how impressive Ike was in that way of measuring it.
Wow. Now, were there any other storms last year that set records?
Well, you got Paloma, which was the second strongest hurricane in November, second to the all-famous Rollaway Lenny in 1999, which, of course, many people know. There's a lot of stuff with Bertha, especially how where it formed and how powerful it was. and its intensification was quite powerful as well, and especially that early in the season. And it was the longest-lived July hurricane on record, and longest-lived tropical storm, I think, in July as well.
And then that was what, Faye?
No, Bertha.
Bertha, okay.
Yeah, they had the crazy 7 landfalls. I have not found a hurricane or tropical storm that's even had 6 landfalls yet. So I haven't gone through that one quite yet, but that looks like Faye's got the record on most landfalls, especially 4 in Florida, which, 4 landfalls on one state I think is going to be an unbeatable record.
Now, Cory, when these hurricanes, when they ever make it up your way, inland, and they're downgraded to a tropical depression or storm, you'll run out and kind of bathe yourself in it, so to speak?
Well, the last good one that we had that was dangerous really was Bob, and that was 1991. So, and I was just a little kid then. I was still 5 years old. So, I don't know. I guess the next time we have one, I'll get some other guys together and go down to Newport and Further Rhode Island and have some fun, and probably we'll have Category 1 winds, maybe. But depending on which side of the storm we're on.
Right. All right. Again, I have the email address up on the screen if anybody has any questions for Cory. I know it's kind of a hard subject for the average viewer out there. Some of the viewers are hurricane fanatics. Some are just casual observers of the show. And your brain's got to be scrambled thinking of all the potential records that could be set, and especially like if you look at 2005. But Cory, what's your opinion on the flow of the tropics here? Do you think we're seeing more and more active storms or more powerful hurricanes compared to years ago? Or do you believe this is just a cycle like the people at the National Hurricane Center always say?
I cannot see how this would be a cycle. Even, you can understand that obviously some storms were missed in the past and some intensities were missed, but even if you add, 10, 15% to everything that's happened, say, 1970 on back, it still is nowhere near, especially what happened in 2005. You could get someone to believe fully in global warming by just going through the 2005 list and just how long it is and how many things are said. And then you had last year and this year, and it just seems like it's nonstop. Things are happening that are just incredible. So I cannot see how it's a cycle. It definitely is intensifying. Obviously, it's part of a cycle, and it could die off. But overall, over time, it is completely increasing. Just the overall intensity, how many storms, and everything overall.
Now, Cory, when you go back and you look at the past records of these hurricanes, especially the last 3 or 4 years, are you noticing much lower pressure records being set overall?
Well, yeah, especially, first thing that comes to mind is Roma, but, and the big thing is the intensification rates. If I pull up my big chart here, almost, all of the top 5 and especially top 10 records for 3-hour, 6-hour, 12-hour pressure drops and miles per hour wind increases are all storms in the past couple of years. And it's amazing how many are in there. You got Gilbert in there a little bit here and there, the 1932 Freeport hurricanes in there. But it's mainly storms of recent memory that are all over the place at the top of the charts and almost anything.
Okay, I believe we have a caller on the line.
Hi, Jim. It's Bill calling from Virginia Beach. How you doing?
Yeah, Bill, thanks for calling in. Bill helps out with Hurricane City, and he's been listening to these shows for years. Do you have a question for Cory?
Yes, I do. Actually, two. Can you go over some of the more famous records from Katrina and Rita, and of those two storms, what's the most obscure record that you've found that was set by one or both of those storms? And with that, I will talk to you later, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, you're hanging up, I guess. All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, most of the records set by Katrina are kind of all ones that we know. Most costly hurricane, $81 billion. Widest swath of destruction at landfall, that was 90,000 square miles. first time a major U.S. city was rendered uninhabitable by a tropical system. All the stats seem to point towards that it had the greatest storm surge of 27 feet, and the strongest storm in the Gulf of Mexico was 902 millibars, which the old record was 905 millibars by, of course, Hurricane Camille. But that record was broken by Hurricane Rita a couple of weeks later. That happened a lot in 2005. Tons of records I actually had to remember because things that, say, Katrina had set, I didn't think about because Rita had the record, and when I went looking for the old record, it was right under my nose. It was just storms right before. A lot of records, even Hurricane Dennis set in 2005, Hurricane Emily beat. So the old record was just a month earlier. And Hurricane Rita, well, it was the largest peacetime evacuation for the U.S. It was more than 3 million people evacuated, but then Hurricane Ike actually this year had that same amount happen. It was tied with Hurricane Andrew in 1992 for the fastest intensification from being declared a hurricane to becoming a Category 5 hurricane. That was 30 hours. And Rita got to 165 miles an hour in 30 hours, so that was probably did the Cat 5 in about 28 hours rather than 30. Rita also had the most rapid intensification in a 12-hour period. It was 50 millibars in a 12-hour period. It has that record.
That's incredible.
So those are kind of the main ones for Katrina and Rita, but the more public ones I think most people would know, especially the most costly hurricane.
Cory, do you know what the fastest forward speed of a hurricane ever was?
Ooh, goodness, that I don't know. Although, of course, Hurricane Wilma, which broke basically every record you can think of, that was getting close because I remember I did have to check that once because it was up to 50 miles an hour or so, or even more. But I don't know exactly the fastest forward.
Yeah, I would imagine there's probably been a lot of records for hurricanes up in the North Atlantic forward speed, but I'm talking about like in the deep tropics when they're just doing their regular forward speed.
Around, yeah.
I'm trying to think, Wilma was going about 23 miles an hour when it hit South Florida. Right,
yeah, I remember that.
But I'm not sure if anything's gone faster than that in a forward speed in the Atlantic Bay. By the way, if anybody wants to ask a question like I just asked, any question, any kind of a record you could possibly think of, Cory might have the answer for it. And we have a caller coming in? We're still checking emails here. Got emails coming in about the snowstorm, ice storm in the Midwest. This is some good pictures. I'll have to show those. What was I saying? I lost my track. The forward speed of Wilma was about 23 miles an hour, but I can't think of anything that's really come plowing in at any more than 25 miles an hour. Can you?
I don't remember reading anything like that, and that may have attributed to why it was, the third costliest hurricane in U.S. history. But because you'd have to add, those 23 miles an hour to the southern side of the eye wall. So that may be why it was so destructive. I'll have to look that up. Forward speed in the main basin. I'll look that up now. You got one on me, Jim. Let's see.
Okay. Well, you don't know. You don't have everything there. There's a million records out there. Do we have a caller on the line? Is there a caller there?
No, Wilma probably broke it.
All right, I thought we had a caller on the line. They just hung up. Call back if you want. 561-278-8495 to talk to Cory Pesaturo. Cory, what's your relationship with Weather Matrix? That's where you have that page listed.
Well, the first place that I had been talking to people about giving the list and putting it online was Jesse Farrell of AccuWeather. I had been talking to him about my winter weather report that I wrote. And I said, well, the first time I gave it to him, I said, I found 90 records. It was just kind of a little thing on 2005 list. And so he had put that up, and then when I kept updating it, I finally gave it to him and put it online. Although now I've written the past 2 months re-updated 05 as I found little things here and there to make it even better. So then I can get a website and put all these lists on it. So the one on my computer right now is the most updated.
All right, somebody keeps trying to call into the broadcast. If you call in, just wait. It'll ring a couple of times. Let us pick it up and put you through to the mixing board. It's not going to be immediate, so just be patient. When you answer the phone, you're going to hear Cory and myself talking, and we're not going to say hello to you. You're just going to hear the conversation, and then we'll ask if there's a caller on the line, and we'll put you through. But just be patient when you call in, and we'll just put you on a kind of a hold where you're hearing the show here tonight, which is currently 8:51 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the Weather and the Media Show. Jim Williams here with Hanna Marshall in the studio. Wave hello so they don't think I have a mannequin in here or something. She's just sitting here, hasn't moved an inch the whole show.
Sorry, too many chocolate martinis tonight.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, we went out to dinner earlier, me, Hanna, and my wife, so we just got back and it's right in time to do the show here tonight, so feel free to ask him any questions if you have any questions. Say hello or something.
Cory, how many hurricanes have had lightning and how many have had hail?
Now I never had to look that one up. That, I don't know, your guess may be as good as mine, especially being down there. I don't know. That's one I've never had to exactly look up.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry. We're doing some things here. I think it was Hurricane Ivan that had lightning. I don't remember. Someone on the message board posted it. I don't remember anything. I figured you might have that information, but I thank you for helping me.
Lightning, that one, not quite sure of. Although Ivan makes me think of something to do with HSI, the Hurricane Severity Index way of measuring hurricanes, rather than the Stafford-Simpson scale. So, I don't know if we want to talk about that for a minute or so. Yeah, where'd Jim go?
Got an email. Oh, here's a question. Email just came in. Actually, two of them. You always hear of storm surge on the Gulf Coast, but what's the highest storm surge along the East Coast? Do you have the answer to that? This is from Fred up in Long Island, and his guess would be Andrew or Hazel. Do you know the answer to that, Cory?
On the East Coast. Well, if the storm next year causes a powerful storm surge on the East Coast, then I'll be going through all the hurricanes and checking that all, and then I'll know everything about that one. But since no storm has really done that in the past couple of years, I haven't gone to check that one out. But hopefully it won't be in Rhode Island for our sake, because the 1938 hurricane over here really did a coup on Providence. So.
Okay, it is currently, okay, now we have that call coming in. Let's take that. Again, it's a hang-up. I don't understand what's going on here. Maybe the 800 number line isn't operating right, but we'll put the caller through if they ever hang on long enough. Again, that email address, jim@hurricanecity.com if you're too shy to be on the broadcast. We'll have Cory with us for a few more minutes. Cory, email came in about where can they find your information on the Internet? Are you going to put this up on web pages or anything?
Yeah, I mean, that thing, of course, go to my website, which is more for the accordion, but there's links to the different lists. It's just CaneTalk.com. You probably have the link there, so. And there's the link section, and all these will be on there. But I'm planning on just making a site with all these different lists on it and my winter weather work as well. But let's see, we got a couple of minutes. You want to talk a little bit about the Hurricane Severity Index versus the Stafford-Simpson scale?
Yeah, let me hear about that.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about this recently, especially when Hurricane Ike came up, and everyone's like, oh, it's only a Category 2, don't worry, no big deal. But I remember a good example, the first time I'd seen this was comparing Hurricane Ivan and Hurricane Dennis, which both had 120 miles an hour. They're both Category 3s, exactly the same. But the HSI it combines the wind speed and the size. And Ivan was much greater with his wind field than Dennis, even though they're the same storms. So someone that doesn't know a lot about weather thinks they're the same. But Ivan on the HSI, which measures from 1 to 50, Ivan had a 33 at landfall, and Dennis had an 18. And the proof is in the pudding, because Ivan did about $15 billion damage, and Dennis did about $2 billion damage, I think. And if you look at three different storms, say Katrina, Andrew, and Ike, even though Katrina was a 125-mile-an-hour storm when it hit land, and Andrew was 165, Katrina on this scale is measured more. It's a 37 to a 32. So it would have shown, that this storm is going to be more powerful than Andrew, which people might have not thought, it's only Cat 3 coming in. But I think it would be better to use that scale or something off of that scale, because Saffir-Simpson is only using wind speed, and I just don't think it's enough to show. And Ike on this scale was right with Andrew.
That's an
the money is the same, actually, with Andrew and Ike. They're pretty similar on damage.
That is an excellent point about the difference between Dennis and Ivan, because Dennis, Mark Sudduth from HurricaneTrack.com was chasing that storm. He was on the west side of Pensacola, got nothing out of it. And I talked to another storm chaser, Jeff Petrowski, who was right where the core was coming in on the right front quadrant, and he was getting absolutely slammed over in Destin area. So that was the difference. Just west of Destin was where the core came in. So small hurricane. I mean, Ivan was probably a completely different story in Pensacola, even though it came in. It affected areas all the way over towards Fort Walton, even though it came in far away from it.
Ivan came in a bit west of where Dennis came in, if I remember right.
Yeah, it did. Ivan came in like right on top of Pensacola, just west of Pensacola, in near Gulf Shores, and Dennis came in right near Fort Walton or Destin, just west of Destin, I believe. Let me get another email here. Let's check this. Here's another email. What was the fastest intensification of a tropical system on record?
Well, believe it or not, Roma takes the cake on 3 hour, 6 hour, 12 hour, 18 hour, 24 hour, and 48 hour in terms of millibars. And in terms of wind speed, Roma takes the cake on 3 hour, 6 hour, 12 hour, 18 hour, 24 hour, and 48 hour. It takes every single record in both categories. So it's more close second to Roma on all of those. And those are names you're all aware of. Hurricane Beulah in 67, Hurricane Felix in 2007, and you got Rita, the Labor Day Hurricane 35, Hurricane Gilbert. Those are the names that usually come second and third. But Roma has every single category first place.
All right, here's another email from Bobby. What does Cory's outlook for the season do in 2009? If he does forecast interest in doing a program? I got to turn around and read this right. I'm not reading this right. Let me see that. I think it's just the typing error here. Is there a program or a university that has a good MET program? If you like, I guess the two-part question. What's your outlook for 2009, and what college programs are good for studying meteorology, and what universities? I don't know if you are expertise in that, or if you have college. Do you have any college education in this?
No, I have no training in statistics, and I have no training in meteorology. I've just kind of read along and just I guess my love for it is pushing so much of it.
I'll tell you, that's nothing to, I'm the same way. People, they look at you like, well, who are you to say if you don't have a college education? But once they start seeing the statistical value in what you have to offer, and you even said it yourself, if you went to a hurricane conference and started talking to these guys, they would be amazed at the stuff that they probably haven't even looked into yet. So it doesn't matter whether you have a degree as far as keeping stats and doing like you and I do on the internet. But if you're going to go to college and do it, I would recommend like Florida State has a good program, and Penn State, of course. But I don't have any training. I really can't answer that question either. And now, what do you? First part of this question. What do you think of the 2009 season coming up, Cory?
Well, I thought after 04 and then 05, I said, well, we're going to have a couple, just by the law of probability, we're going to have a couple of quiet seasons. And we had one quiet season, and then, engines turned up again the next two. So, I mean, I don't know exactly using meteorology, but I would say it's going to be a calm one. I would have to go with more of a calm one, just by probability. And I don't know. That's all I can tell here. It's probably more of a calm one. I mean, to see, look at all these stats and just see 05, 07, 08 plastered all over top 10 records everywhere. It's hard to imagine that we plaster some 09s up there, but I don't know. The way things are going, it's maybe.
I'd love for you to come down for the Hurricane Conference in Fort Lauderdale. You think you could pull that off in May?
Yeah, I mean, I could just be the guy kind of in the back of the room that, if someone can't think of a certain hurricane or a stat, they just look at me and I'm like, oh yeah, that. Because I've read so much and read articles on almost every storm there's ever been. I can remember a good amount from different records and going through them, hundreds of hours of doing these lists.
Do you have any hurricane book that's your favorite that you've read?
Not really, no. That's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, here's an email that just came in. Did Hurricane Charlie set any significant records? It was a fast-moving storm across Florida, about 25 miles an hour, but not sure if that's a record or not. And this is from Randy in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Charlie. Charlie, I mean, its big thing, claim to fame, at least on the records here, is that it had, 35 miles per hour in 3 hours gain, 35-mile-an-hour gain. That was kind of the big thing. It's in the top 10 for 6 hour as well. So not as much in the rest. That was kind of the big thing, is its intensification just before it hit Florida. I think it went from a Cat 2 to a Cat 4 in an extremely small amount of time. That was kind of the only big one. But compared to like Wilma and Felix, and then just recent ones, Rita and Katrina, didn't get up in that category.
Okay. All right. Well, Cory, we're going to go ahead and play a little of your music here as we wish you a good evening, and I really appreciate you being on the show tonight. And we're going to link. Will it be okay if I link to your pages that you have all these records so people can go check them out?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. Any final comments you'd like to make before you leave tonight about either the upcoming hurricanes or past hurricanes? Anything that you want to stick in people's minds going into the future here?
I guess it'd be more to people that are trying to figure out if they think especially things with global warming are happening and how intense it is. I would definitely take a look at the past couple of years and look at these lists and see what you think, if you really think nothing is happening with the weather.
Exactly.
That.
All right, Cory, well, thank you for joining me tonight, and good luck in the future, and maybe we'll have you on again next year, and we'll talk about the records from the 2009 hurricane season. How's that?
Yeah, maybe so.
All right, here's Cory playing the accordion, and good luck in your musical career and your record keeping, and thanks for being on the show tonight.
All right,
have a good night, Cory. All right, that's some of his music, folks, from one of his performances. He's performed all over the country, all over the world, to world leaders and stuff like that. And I guess it's a form of jazz music, and we wish Cory the best of luck. We'll be in touch with him throughout the 2009 hurricane season and what's going on, and see if there's any records being set. All right, well, Cory,